What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wrestling Junkies Podcast. It is Monday. It is a brand new week. I'm Mr. Cincinnati. I am joined by the podcast dad, Choops. How you been? It feels like I haven't talked to or seen you in quite a while. It feels weird. How you doing?
Hey, I'm happy you're alive. That's all I'm going to say. Happy you're alive. I'm struggling over here. The allergies have kicked in hard, but we're in a Jordan flu game this one. We're going to get through this.
I like it. Before we get into our show today, as always, make sure that you are following the Main Event Wrestling Network at @mainevent_net. Yes, buy merch. We have our mugs. We have our hoodies. We have beanies, not hats. Chris, I promise they're coming. I will work on it.
Don't you call me Chris. You're not allowed. That's podcast dad to you, sir.
When did we get so formal around here? Okay. Yeah, we got some great interviews coming this week. We will also be returning to Wrestling Spotlight on Local Now this Thursday to talk a little Double or Nothing, a little King and Queen of the Ring, and King Chris will be making his return this Thursday as well to our show to again for those predictions. Going to be a great weekend of wrestling, but we've got a little bit we need to get to first. Smackdown is in the books. Collision is in the books. Let's start with the blue brand. We did have some King of the Ring matches that continued this week. Actually, you know what? Where are my manners? Before we get into Smackdown, podcast dad and the podcast mom went on a very special field trip this past weekend to Wrestling Revolver to go show some support for our friend Landon Hale. Podcast dad, take us through the night. How'd you like it? What went down?
Yes, I convinced the podcast mom to go on a date. She was all for it. And then I told her where we were going. She kind of got wide-eyed a little bit. No, this was her first indie wrestling show, and this was my first Revolver show. I'd never been to Revolver before. Really fun. She had a great time. She said she liked that more than like a WWE show, so that was pretty cool. Kind of get her involved in that, and she had a good time. She got into some of the chants. That was pretty happy. Nice. There was a I'm not going to say it on here, but Trent Seven started a chant that began with a C word, and she was kind of shocked, but she joined right in. She had a great time. She flipped off Mance Warner. She was into it, man. So it was good. It was good. The whole card was very good. Alex Shelley and Trent Seven wrestled for the Revolver World Title match. It was cool to see Trent Seven. I've seen Alex Shelley before, but cool to see Trent Seven out there. Super polite too at the merch table. Thank you for that, sir. Myron Reed and Speedball Mike Bailey put on an amazing match. It was a lot of fun. It was very fast. It was crazy. Just one of those matches that it's like, oh man, what a way to get her kind of involved, right? That was the first match she saw, and she was like, well, okay, I'll stick around and watch.
I like it.
Mance Warner, the one they call Manders, and Matthew Justice had just a bonkers triple threat match. They hit each other with I can't tell you how many doors. It was one of the craziest things I've seen in a long time. It was such a fun match. It was, you have to go watch it. Go watch it on Triller. It was a lot of fun. Of course, we were there to see Landon Hale, who made his Revolver debut. We had the back row seat, and I tried my hardest to get a Hell Yeah chant started. Didn't take, but Landon did say he heard me. So hey, I tried, and hopefully that came through on television as well. He was in a scramble match, so a lot of moving parts, a lot of craziness going on. He got his spots in, and he looked great. I think he impressed some people there. Got a couple oohs and ahs on a couple of things he did, so that was cool. Did a standing Spanish fly, so he was, from the crowd. That was pretty cool. Heather said his gear looked really, really cool, so that's the highest compliment from the podcast mom, I can say. She loves her gear. And yeah, it was just a really fun night. I got to see Ethan Page. That was pretty cool. Nice. I don't know if this was his first indie or not since he left AEW, but that was cool. I got to see Masha Slamovich, which is something, a bucket list item for me because that was really cool. And Jon Moxley was there, so it was a fun night overall. And then we saw the main event, which is something I've never seen. It was a Staples versus Skewers match with Alex Colon and Cougar, and it was pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. There were Skewers, there were Staples, and I'm not sure the podcast mom knew what she was watching. But overall, really, really fun night. It was a fun date night. You got to get out there next time with us. I think I might have an indie fan on board now with her, and she had a really good time. So it was a fun night, really fun night.
Love it. Well, hey, you know that I'm definitely down to join next time. I think you said the next show is in August, so let's make it happen, Captain.
I want to. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, hell yeah. Now, you ready for some Smackdown?
Kinda.
Do tell.
I'm disappointed.
Okay, let's get right into it. What's
you know why?
Dude, we haven't talked all weekend. All right, I don't know why.
What did we talk about last week? Yeah.
You were. Oh, okay. All right. LA Knight. There was that little interaction with Logan Paul. He did not win. Would you let me set the stage?
I'm angry. I'm angry today.
I'm exhausted. Okay, so
get over it. You don't have 2 kids and a wife.
I don't, but that doesn't mean you have to take that out on me.
Doesn't mean those are choices. Because you're a little sleepyhead today.
I am a little bit of a sleepyhead today, but you see me here, upbeat, jubilant, ready to rock.
I wouldn't describe you as jubilant.
That is hurtful, I gotta say. I mean, come on. It's me here.
Yeah. You can fake a smile with the best of them.
All right, yeah, let's get into it. LA Knight, Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga has advanced in the King of the Ring. You're disappointed because LA Knight did not win. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I just we talked about it last week. What are they doing? I mean, are we eventually just going to get to this U.S. title match? But they haven't really built him up since that WrestleMania win, and I'm kind of disappointed with where he's at right now.
I mean, that's fair to say. I mean, we do have to remember that there's a lot of moving parts in WWE right now. I mean, this is the deepest roster that they've had in quite a while. Triple H is playing the long game with a lot of stories right now. King of the Ring isn't the only accolade that is, something that LA Knight can pursue this summer. Money in the Bank is still happening. They did, have that showdown between Logan Paul and LA Knight. Let's not rule out a SummerSlam match there either. People were wondering why LA Knight didn't win the Royal Rumble, or why he wasn't in the Rumble, why he didn't win Elimination Chamber. Would he actually dethrone the Tribal Chief? But he still got a match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I am not worried. I'm not worried. I know that you want to see him I mean, Triple H still has a place for him on that card from what we've seen so far. So again, this isn't the only accolade of the summer up for grabs. So to quote Aaron Rodgers, relax.
I'm just saying it's going to be now 2 PLEs in a row he's going to miss. I'm afraid they're going to lose some momentum. He's going to miss Backlash. He's going to miss King and Queen of the Ring. If it turns into a SummerSlam match, okay. But right now, I'm going to live in the moment, and I'm just.
So I guess
I feel like I'd be a little bit better if it was Solo. Does that make sense?
All right, that's fair. I mean, well, I guess let me ask you this: if you've got the pencil, what are you doing with LA Knight this summer? What is your plan?
Oh, he's winning Money in the Bank.
Okay, which hasn't happened. Yeah. So I mean, if that's what you would do with him anyway, and you wouldn't have him advancing in King of the Ring, then we're still not in kind of panic mode just yet. There's still a lot of disco on my end.
Yeah, but I feel like I would still have him on some of these shows doing something of relevance. I think a rematch with AJ Styles last month would have been fine, but that didn't happen.
Okay.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the King of the Ring, we have 4 participants left. And it's either going to be Orton and Gunther, or it's either going to be Tonga and Uso. Which one are we doing?
I think that I would still go Gunther and Randy. Tama and Uso is an intriguing matchup, and we got into a little bit of that last week. Make sure to check out our archives on YouTube for that episode. But the Bloodline story doesn't necessarily need this particular accolade. I think that, Money in the Bank is where you can have a little bit more of that chaos to go with it, because that's already more of a Demolition Derby style match. So whatever interaction that some combination of Jey Uso, a Solo, a Tonga, or a Tongaloa can have is a lot more physical, like we've already seen with the Street Fight at Backlash. This is eclipsed, all of that. The time for niceties are long out the window when it comes to anything Bloodline. This is personal. It's going to be physical. And yeah, I don't necessarily think that King of the Ring is it for that story. Gunther is tailor-made to be King of the Ring. I mean, we saw what King of the Ring did for Kurt Angle. We saw what King of the Ring did for Brock Lesnar.
Really? You missed me.
A little bit.
As you were saying it, Jey Uso's going to win Money in the Bank, isn't he?
I wouldn't rule it out.
I know. I don't want it, but you got me thinking.
I mean, they're still very much invested in main event Jey Uso, even if the match quality does not always live up to that moniker. Just is what it is.
He'll have a good match tonight. Let's not get it twisted. Gunther will put on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, then again, it's going to be my favorite Jey Uso match.
I thought that was last week.
Well, it'd be even better this time.
There's another candidate for Money in the Bank. Man, they got a lot. That's why I'm worried about LA Knight.
I mean, I get it, I do, but he's still over with that crowd. That's. I mean, you saw the pop when he had the face-to-face with Logan Paul. I mean, they don't do anything on accident anymore,
They do not. Speaking of that, Carmelo Hayes had a good showing against Randy.
He really did. Man, he is going to be something special for that main roster. I mean, I cannot wait to see him main eventing WrestleMania.
I hope so. He's got a lot of talent. I'm hoping that it's not kind of limited to the mid-card. Because I think he needs to keep building that star. He did it in NXT, and he kind of felt like the big fish in the small pond. But even when, Ilya came up, it was like, oh, man, Ilya's on the main roster. With Melo, I don't think it feels the same quite yet. And I want to get to that point where it's like, okay, Carmelo Hayes is on the main roster. Let's get something going. Is that a U.S. title run? I don't know what it is, but making cookies. Kyle, how old are you?
What's wrong with making? Dude, I did the same thing last week. I don't want to hear it.
As long as they're not oatmeal, cranberry, boysenberry.
No, they were oatmeal with dried cherry. I don't want to hear it. They were delicious.
Yeah, well,
I still got plenty left. I saved you some.
I don't want any.
Hurtful.
We got a birthday party this weekend. I don't.
Oh, that's right. How we feeling?
Feeling like my wife loves my children. We're gonna do a lot, and they're not gonna remember any of it. So it's great.
I'm sure that take lots of pictures. All of that. Come on.
Sure. It's going to be at my house, too, which just makes it 10 times worse. There's going to be people at my house. They're going to make a mess. I'm going to have to clean up.
I mean, isn't that what parenthood is anyway?
Kind of. It's kind of the worst. All I do is clean up.
Okay. Well, I hope you have fun. I'm going to be at the pool on Saturday. And Sunday, and probably Monday.
Yeah.
What?
Bianca Belair beats Tiffany Stratton.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Continues to sell the knee. I think that this is perfectly fine. I know we talked last week about the controversy surrounding Tiffany. I'm not going to go back into that. I think that this was probably the planned result, even, that aside. What did surprise me, though, is the match between Nia Jax and Jade Cargill, because we talked about whether it was too soon to put these two in the same bracket and whether they would have that face-off, because I know that when, I know that I was of the opinion that when this tag team title run started, that I wanted a long, dominant reign for these two before we do the inevitable split. I think that you at one point intimated that, if it happened at SummerSlam, you wouldn't be too upset about it. But yeah, this was an interesting choice here for Nia to win by DQ. What do you think?
I liked it. Jade showed some aggression. I liked it. I saw a little bit of that heel Jade Cargill come out. She got a little too aggressive. I don't mind it. Nia, okay. I think not. I don't know. I don't know who wins this, because you have what? Nia, Belair, Io, and Lyra.
Yeah. Yes.
So realistically, any four of those women could win this. I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
As opposed to the men's side, where I'm pretty sure it's going to be Gunther.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to root against him. I mean, the fact that he's only had 2-3 losses in his entire WWE career. I mean, even losing at WrestleMania to end the longest Intercontinental title reign of all time, it's still like he doesn't feel like he has taken a step back. Not
at all. No, but on the women's side, yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, don't.
That's what he wasn't here for. I don't know if he was here for that discussion, so he's getting caught up. All right, would you
off the screen?
It's off the damn screen.
I don't want to see that. All right, my train of thought. Take it off the screen.
Say please next time.
Never. I think they're selling this Bianca injury, but does that play into the final, like a rematch with Io? I can't really see Nia and Lyra.
Not really, no.
I think it's gonna be Bianca and Io.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily clamoring to see that again right away, just because there was so much that they did with Bianca and Damage Control for 2023 that, I mean, it just has lost a lot of the luster. But I think that, yeah, I mean,
Becky Lynch is the women's champion, so
yeah,
new era.
I would. Yeah, I think I would like to see Lyra versus Bianca. I mean, I know it's not. I mean, that's the thing. Is Lyra's still so new to the roster that doesn't, it doesn't look like something you'd see on a marquee. That's for sure. But Io, while yes, she has some momentum to regain after kind of a so-so world title run. I don't necessarily need her back into the chase again just yet for the Raw Women or the Women's World Championship.
Yeah, but like this Io versus Bianca, I think would be really good. Much better.
I mean, they do have great chemistry, that's for sure.
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, and I like that. I like that I'm kind of going back and forth, and I don't know what's going to happen. So that's a positive about the women's side for sure.
Yeah.
So Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul are not wrestling for the United States title?
I believe that is the case. I think Logan had his own contract drafted to where only Cody's title's on the line, so some heel shenanigans to get out of the double title match, because quite frankly, WWE does not need to do any of those anytime soon.
Then why did you even book it in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, I think that, even for this particular show, I would have been fine if it was just a champion versus champion, call it a showcase match or something. I mean, you're still getting Cody Rhodes on the card. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily need to put the title on the line at this particular pay-per-view. I think if it had been champion versus champion, that's perfectly fine. Logan does not really, hurt by losing. He's going to have a fun summer. What that looks like for him in the lead up to SummerSlam in Cleveland remains to be seen. But yeah, if it were me, I would have just, I don't even think that I would have done a championship match. I would have just had it as WWE champion, US champion, and you can still do a lot of the same booking as far as the promos and contract signing, everything they've done up to that point, but you didn't necessarily need the championship stipulation. Kyle is saying here that they never technically booked it, but yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
Card subject to change, pal.
It's almost like they've done this twice now. Do you think this is a Triple H thing? Where they kind of allude to something and see the reaction and then kind of ease back? Like, I'm thinking more like Rock and Roman, where everybody just went insane, didn't want it, so he put Cody back in. Yeah. And now this one where it's like, ooh, they're going to do title versus title, and the pushback was like, nobody wants to see that, and they kind of went, okay, let's ease back. Like, do you think it's that?
Yes, there have been a couple of instances of that. I'm not willing to go so far as to say that is a Triple H philosophy when it comes to booking or anything like that. I think that, if it, for the sake of this discussion, if it is, something that's being thought about, or at least trying to gauge the reception of a crowd and what an audience is thinking about the product that you're presenting, I see no problem with them being reactive to some things. I don't think they necessarily need to change everything that they're doing just because of there may be fan backlash or something. Liv Morgan in Elimination Chamber was a great example of that. But I would say for something like this, I would be fine with that if that is the case of, this is what's happening. Because, you see that on any other scripted programming all the time. If people are not receptive to a character or a storyline, or it's not getting the reaction that they thought that they would, they scrap it. It's television business.
Just remember, we are the authority, so we make the rules.
And they will break them.
Okay. So you watched Collision?
I did watch Collision. Let me pull up a couple of things here. It was not bad. The big thing I wanted to talk about was there is a 6-man tag match between Bryan Danielson, FTR, taking on Lance Archer and the Righteous, continuing that story of the Young Bucks essentially putting bounties on the heads of their opponents, Anarchy in the Arena this weekend. Just a really fun 6-man tag match. And once again, for everybody in the back, please put Lance Archer on TV more.
Yeah. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's very, very good.
Entertaining as well.
Do you think the reports about Bryan Danielson are a work? Have you seen the reports?
I have. I think that it is probably something of a worked shoot. If Bryan Danielson truly needs neck surgery, I don't think that Tony would risk a pretty significant match as far as Anarchy in the Arena, Double or Nothing, if the injury is as serious as one that requires like some sort of immediate neck surgery. I would imagine he'll probably take some time off after this match, win or lose. So yeah, I'm going to say it's more in the middle.
Like 3 weeks, isn't it? I think his contract's up soon.
Even though he debuted in September?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think his contract is up soon, but I think he still plans to wrestle at Wrestle Dream. So I don't know if that's just a handshake agreement at this point. But yeah, like his contract's up. And I don't know if, since he's not going to be full time, I don't know if it's renewed or what that looks like between him and Tony. But we didn't get to
I don't
talk
see him
about,
leaving or anything like that.
I don't know. He's going to take some backstage role that Tony desperately needs him to take.
Facts.
We didn't get to react about Darby Allin replacing Eddie Kingston. Your thoughts?
We did not. I'm just glad that Darby Allin is upright. I mean,
for now,
in the last 4 months, he has broken his foot so he couldn't climb Everest, and then broke his nose after getting hit by a bus.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't know. I just wish I could ship him some bubble wrap and just, he's very precious cargo.
Oh, I feel like he's going to do something insane in this match.
Probably.
And it's going to be like, oh, man. I'm worried about it. But, there was backlash about, him not – they didn't have any AEW originals on Team AEW. he's now on Team AEW. So there's a little bit of homegrown AEW talent for that team. I would, and I know he's hurt, so he can't do it, but I would have much rather seen Eddie Kingston in this match.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said earlier, card is subject to change. Darby's fine as a replacement, but I'm really bummed it's not Eddie Kingston in this match.
Sure. Yeah, it's Eddie's just such a wild card that anything he does is just entertaining and magical to watch. That I was definitely looking forward to him in this match. I mean it's kind of going on both companies right now. The King and Queen of the Ring tournament had the injury bug affect them. Now this match too. Name of the game.
That ain't ballet, brother.
Nope.
It
is not.
It is not. Do you have any more interest in the Christian Swerve program after Thursday? Did you see that segment?
I don't believe that I did, no.
Okay, so they did a little bit of a callback where Nick Wayne hit Swerve in the head with a picture frame of Swerve's family. And then Swerve started bleeding. Christian then took the picture, wiped it over his face, and then you had the blood on the picture with Swerve, his wife, and his daughter. That makes it a little bit more personal, and I really, really like that. Christian's really leaning into the heel aspect of his character again, where it's not coming off as just kind of random attacking Swerve kind of thing, but now it's like, okay, like now we're like, and I want to get to the point where we get the Swerve that was chasing the title, the kind of horror movie villain that he was, the kind of like, you can mess with me as much as you want, but I'm crazier than you. I stapled my chest against Hangman and then, just laughed about it. Like that's the one I want. As much as I like Swerve being face and having a good time with his title reign, I want that side of Swerve again, where that's the one that we're like, okay, that's a main event guy. That's who I want to see. And you can still have aspects of that as a face. You don't have to be as sadistic as you were, but you got to sprinkle that in from time to time. And I think the retaliation is going to be very good.
Yeah, because, and I know that we've talked about this a lot, especially towards the end of last year, as we're kind of remarking on this heel run that Swerve was on last year, and as well as Christian Cage, as far as them, being possibly the two best heels that they have in AEW, at least in 2023, because they were two sides of the same coin. Like you said, Swerve, was that sadistic, maniacal kind of bad guy. And Christian, it's a lot more cerebral and mental. So I'm hoping that they will yin and yang this in this match. Do you think that this retaliation came at the appropriate time in the booking of this feud between Dynasty and Double or Nothing?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, I don't know what they're building to with Swerve. I would assume maybe an MJF match, maybe another Hangman match. I don't know what they're what is the ultimate Swerve match that we're trying to get to? I don't know. It's a good spot for now. I'll say that. That segment definitely turned me on the feud. Like I'm now on board with this match more than I was the previous week.
Sure. Okay. And I mean, maybe much like Cody Rhodes and how WWE is just basically saying we don't necessarily have this long, grandiose, long-term plan. It's basically, hey, we have a consistent champion that is on TV every week. That's good enough for us right now. Maybe that's kind of what they have in mind for Swerve, because we have talked about Swerve versus Ospreay at Wembley potentially. I'd say odds are pretty good that Will is going to walk out with the international championship this Sunday, and we'll probably do something to have a really fun run with that title, and establish it almost in a way that Gunther revitalized the Intercontinental Championship is something I'd really like to see with that international title. Not that Roddy has been bad per se. It's just that we saw some consistency with Orange Cassidy, And then when Mox got hurt and they just put the title back on Orange, I mean, that wasn't the plan. So they kind of just had to work with what they had. And, I think that affected some of the luster of the championship. I don't knock them for putting the title on Roddy as part of the Undisputed Kingdom story and trying to establish that group, but that's conversation for another time. But
I forgot about the Ray Phoenix reign too. That was in there. It went Orange, and then Mox got hurt, and then Phoenix got hurt, and then they were like, all right, just give it back to Orange Cassidy. Maybe it's cursed or something.
So I think that, that would be a better use of Ospreay right now. There is always going to, Will Ospreay is a perennial world title contender with the way that he's booked in AEW right now. So I am not worried about getting him to Wembley specifically to capture the world title just for that moment. Right now, this is a good way to help elevate the rest of the roster as opposed to just the main event scene with Will Ospreay, because, look at the guys that are getting looks by being in the ring. Shane Taylor looked amazing in his match on Collision with Will Ospreay. Roderick Strong is on pay-per-view and is probably going to have something that will look like an honorable mention match of the year because he's in the ring with Will Ospreay. So that is the power and effect that signing has had on AEW. I got no problem with them letting him cook and kind of, help bolster this, undercard before he eventually goes to go chase the world title, because we know it's a given.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, shucks. Any other thoughts on this weekend?
I don't have much. Go watch the replay of Wrestling Revolver. A lot of fun.
I need to, yeah. Everybody should do that. Triller TV. If you're not invested in Triller TV, it's only $50 a year. There's no reason not to be. It's pretty cool. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Support our merch store. Let me get this graphic back up here. Buy a mug. Buy a hoodie. Buy a shirt.
Buy a Hertz.
Yeah, we got rent-a-cars too. Did you not know that?
I did not know that. That's news to me. Thanks for that. Drop it live. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you didn't hear the word. The bird is the word too.
All right. Are you done?
We'll be back on Thursday on Wrestling Spotlight. Make sure to join us. Download that Local Now app. 3 great interviews will be released this week as well. And let's just be nice to each other. I don't think I have anything else to say on that other than let's just be cool. Anything else, Podcast Dad?
I'm good.
All right. For the Podcast Dad, I'm Mr. Cincinnati. It's been the Wrestling Junkies Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow night.